Hello, hello. Welcome back, Previously Honors. This is Jillian Benani here. We have another very special episode for you today. This weekend marks the 1-year anniversary of doing this podcast, which we're all very excited about. And we are going to have some new content for you, celebrating that next week. But in the meantime, please enjoy one of our favorite episodes that we ever have done. It is a draft of early 2000s teen drama characters. All your favorites, from Pacey Witter to Nathan Scott to Brooke Davis, Serena Vanderwoodson, all the top players. So enjoy this episode, and we will be back with something new and exciting next week.
Who are you?
Whoever you want me to be.
Don't say I never gave you anything.
It's feeling epic.
3 words. 8 letters.
I remember everything.
Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Previously on Teen TV. I'm Jillian Benani.
I'm Claire Wojciechowski.
We have a very special episode today. It is fantasy football season. Mm-hmm. So here at Previously on Teen TV, we will be doing a Teen TV fantasy draft.
Yes, more specifically, we are drafting from teen TV shows of the 2000s. Anything that aired at least one season between 2000 and 2009 is eligible for this draft.
Which was harder than what I thought, to be honest.
Agreed.
Like, I found myself kind of going to some recent characters.
I did too.
So we'll have to do a part 2 of this.
I know. I'm looking forward to that already.
I know. Me too. Well, let's get into it. Let's first start with the categories.
Yes.
Claire, why don't you read the categories for us?
I would love to. The categories are Protagonist, Heartthrob, Villain, Best Friend, Love Triangle, Outsider, Athlete, Parent, Coach or teacher / administrator, someone who works at the school, because there's probably a school, new character / love interest, who is introduced after season 1 specifically, sibling, lovable nerd, and comedic relief.
So lots of characters to fill out these shows, but there's a lot of characters to go through. So we will each go back and forth and draft a character for each category.
Yes.
We are in our sporty gear today.
Yes, I am manifesting becoming the champ.
Which was smart, and I'm number 10. Yes. Don't know what that means. I wish I had, my One Tree Hill number 23 jersey, but maybe for Christmas this year.
Yeah, maybe for that episode.
But yeah, it was kind of hard for us to find our sporty attire, but we did it, and we are here to show that fantasy football isn't just for those boys.
No.
It's for everyone.
Anyone can draft.
It's for teen-obsessed 30-somethings.
Oh,
all right, so we have a tiebreaker to see who gets to go first. They will also be picking the first category. So our producer, Jesse, has that tiebreaker for us. Let's toss it over to Jesse.
Hey, guys. Okay, so since we just wrapped up talking about the OC for the past 2 weeks, this is an OC-themed tiebreaker.
Ooh.
Nervous.
So,
Me too. I'm actually nervous.
So the question is, what are the total number of episodes of the OC that aired across all 4 seasons? And we'll go. Each of you will take a guess, and then the closest one you can go over wins. So
I'm gonna go with 92.
I'm going to say 86.
it's exactly 92.
Oh my God!
Like, wait, did you just look it up on Wikipedia like I did?
So I actually remember them talking about this on the Welcome to the OC Bitches podcast. And I remember thinking like they were so close to 100 and didn't make it. And I thought that was kind of sad.
Yeah.
So, wow. Oh my God. I could not believe it.
Impressed with
Wow.
that knowledge. All right. Well, you're going first.
I mean, pressure is on now.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I have I'm like covering up my notes so Claire does not see who I have on my list. We're taking this very seriously.
We are.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the category of heartthrob.
Okay.
Because I feel like this is one that we're going to be, you know, this is a big category.
Okay.
So for heartthrob, I'm drafting, don't be mad at me, Pacey Witter.
Oh, wow. I'm not upset. I'm kind of surprised.
I know. I kind of figured he would be. But I think that he is the whole package. And, you know, in a heartthrob, I need some comedic relief in my heartthrobs. Like, I don't need them to be the most gorgeous, like, godlike man.
Yeah.
I need them to be somewhat funny. Also, he's hot. So I think that he's the total package, and that's what I need in my heartthrob.
Okay.
I know you were thinking I was probably going to do somebody else for that, but I wanted to take Pacey Witter from you.
I love that. You're like, I wanted to start off by hurting you.
No, we're getting into this.
All right.
Okay?
Pacey Witter from Dawson's Creek is off the board.
Off the board.
So for my heartthrob, I am going to go with Jess Mariano from Gilmore Girls.
Oh, that was a good one.
Thank you. I had some other contenders, and then I remembered Jess. Not that who could ever forget him, but I was like, oh, right, he applies. Jess isn't funny. He's brooding and kind of a jerk. But I think, you know, when you're looking for a partner in a teen TV show, like we all go down that path.
Yeah.
And also, like, I like that he's well read. And I feel like we could have some witty banter.
He is a good heartthrob for you, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about me as a person, like,
Yeah.
we could debate about, you know, Dickens for, I guess.
Jess Mariano is a good one. And he's somebody who fits into a lot of these categories.
He
like,
does.
I had some ideas for him. So that's a tough one to have off the table, I will say.
I'm sorry about that. Well, you know, them's the breaks, I guess.
I know.
All right. So I am choosing a new category now, and I'm going to go with new character / love interest introduced after season 1. And I'm going to go with Rachel Gattina from One Tree Hill.
Damn it, that is what I was going to go with. Oh my God. I am so mad at you right now.
So in all honesty, I had a different one listed there, and then I remembered that they were actually introduced at the very end of season 1, so they were not eligible for that particular category.
Wait, who was that though?
I was going to say Liam from 90210 because I didn't think you would pick him.
Yeah.
And
no,
then literally,
not a picked him.
yes, minutes ago, I remembered that he is introduced at the very end of season 1, so he wasn't eligible in that category, but I could pick him later. So anyway.
You always can.
I know.
Okay, so for my new character / love interest introduced at least in season 2, I'm going to go with Zach from the OC. So kind of a forgettable character, which I understand, but extremely good looking water polo player. Extremely good looking water polo. I can't speak. Okay. So he is extremely good looking and a water polo player, if I can ever say that right, and a bit of a nerd.
Yes.
I think that we could have built him into more, like, for me, he's somebody who came in on season 2 and had more potential than what they gave him as a character. Why didn't he date Taylor Townsend?
That would have been so much fun. Oh my God. Very different energies. Very entertaining.
I just think I'm picking him for the potential there that the character was given.
Also, Taylor Townsend, a great pick for that category too. I don't know why.
I didn't even think about
I didn't think about her
either.
either. And then you said it, I was like, oh right, Taylor Townsend.
I
anyway,
know.
but that's a good pick.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so for next category, let's do protagonist. I think it's time. So for protagonist, I am going to pick Brooke Davis.
Okay, interesting.
So not the main character of the show she was on, but main character potential. And I think she was somebody who like became the main character.
She
basically.
absolutely, yes. She became the main character in the later seasons, but I mean, yeah, I agree.
And I just think there's a lot we can work with there. Her character goes through, you know, a lot of character development. So there's a lot to watch. And I just think that raspy voice is fun for my main character. And I think the world is ready to have main characters maybe that are a little flawed at first or who go through more of a change. You know, I don't want my main character to be one of those boring girls. Elena Gilbert, no offense.
I agree. So I had trouble with this category because I was thinking about the people who were protagonists at the start of the show, who were set up to be the protagonists.
Which is fair. I went a little AWOL on this one.
And I think that, I mean, we could do a whole episode on, you know, how shows where one character is set up as the main character and then it turns out that the supporting characters are more interesting and we pivot.
Right.
Like, that's a whole separate issue. I literally wrote in my notes, no one, they all suck, because I was thinking about the characters that were given as protagonists.
Well, you're allowed to switch it, Claire.
No, you know what? I'm going to go with one that I came up with it, and I don't think they appear anywhere else in my list. I'm going to go with Buffy Summers from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Ooh, good one.
She remains the protagonist throughout all of the seasons. She is strong, she's funny, she's emotional. She, like, even when you disagree with her, you're rooting for her. So yeah, I want to be like Buffy Summers and fight demons.
That's a good one. She's a good main character. I feel like too they did like a lot with her storyline, and she definitely is a little bit more interesting than some of these other main characters, because I think you're right. A lot of the main characters on these shows kind of suck. Dawson Leary, sorry, but
sucks.
They just a lot of times give the more character development to the side characters. But
yeah, and I think a lot of times the main characters, the protagonists, are sort of, they're just sad sacks a little bit. Like, they have to carry all these heavy burdens, and that just makes, and then they get sort of self-pitying, and you're like, that's, like, stop it. And then these other side characters, these friends, these love interests can have troubles, but still, like, bring levity or bring emotion. And I think Buffy, definitely is always the most burdened character on the show, but she still has quippy little one-liners, and she still, like, looks on the bright side and still wants to go to the mall with her friends and have a coffee or whatever at the end of the day. So.
She's a good female character, I think, for sure. I also like that we both chose female protagonists.
Right. I mean, we don't need to talk about these boys.
These males, you know, main character males on these shows just, you know, didn't always do it for us.
My turn to pick. I am going to jump to, where should I go? You know what? I'm going to keep it up at the top. I'm going to go with villain, and I picked Georgina Sparks from Gossip Girl.
Good one.
Thank you.
That is a good one. I mean, wow. That's perfect. I don't know why I didn't even think about her.
I was trying to think of a villain who stayed pretty much a villain. Like, at some point, she does help out the other characters, and she is, I don't even want to say that she's redeemed, but she's softened a bit. But I really wanted to sort of go for somebody that isn't like an enemy who becomes a friend, you know? So that's what I thought. Georgina always makes it interesting, always brings chaos, and she ruins lives, but she just enjoys doing it so much. She's like a gleeful, over-the-top villain, and I think that that's what makes her so much fun.
Where was her Emmy for that role? Because she was so good in that.
Honestly, incredible stuff.
I mean, also, just side note, when she shows up with the pregnant belly in the season finale of Gossip Girl, like, that was insane.
Yes.
Like, I was jaw drop.
She tricks Dan Humphrey into thinking that she's carrying his child.
Ultimate villain there. That is so good.
Brilliant. Oh, I love it.
Also, maybe a hero. Kind of love her.
I mean, she ends up helping save the day in the series finale a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that was a good one. Okay, so for my villain pick, I am going to go with... Sorry, I'm still debating. I'm debating if I want to go with someone who's like a villain the whole time, or somebody who was... Don't look at my paper,
I'm not.
Claire. Or somebody who is redeemable. But you know what? I'm going to stick with my gut on like who I really liked as a villain. Mm-hmm. So for villain, I am picking Klaus from the Vampire Diaries.
Okay. That is an excellent choice.
I mean, I know that he kind of somewhat becomes like not a villain, but I will say, I think for majority of while he's on Vampire Diaries, like he remains a villain to that group for the most part. Like,
agreed.
Even when they are getting along a little bit more, like he's still causing trouble.
Right.
With that group.
I agree.
I just think that when he came on the Vampire Diaries, like, it was
Changed the game.
completely changed the game. So good. Like, Joseph Morgan in that role was like, I feel like he was like on a different show. Like, he was giving it his all, and it worked. I was like genuinely scared of Klaus.
Same. He was so great that they had to give him his own spinoff.
And also, I'm sorry, but I'm a Caroline stan, just saying.
I mean, listen, I was sad at the end, but I kind of wanted them to get together in the originals, and then
The chemistry there was just too good.
Oh, amazing. I was rooting for them.
I like my villain to be able to have chemistry with somebody, you know? I need a little hot villain makeout at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, Klaus to me is kind of like one of the ultimate villains.
Great pick.
Thank you. That was a fun category. All right, so my turn to pick the category, and I'm gonna go with love triangle.
Okay.
So just to be clear for our listeners, the love triangle does not need to fit into other characters we've drafted already. Or they can too. It's just a little kind of like separate. We're just drafting a love triangle.
Right. So they can appear, if a character appears in the love triangle, they can appear solo in a separate category.
Exactly.
And that is the only category to which that is allowed.
Perfect. Yes. Just so we can explain the rules to everyone. We were very serious about these rules. We take this maybe too seriously. Okay, so for love triangle, I am drafting what I think is the love triangle of our generation, but that I don't think people would think of. And it is the love triangle of Steven, Elsie, and Kristen on Laguna Beach.
Whoa. Interesting.
I know. Bet you didn't see that coming.
You really zagged on that one.
I know. I zagged. And I know I made all these rules, but they fit the category.
They do.
Okay. It is a teen show from the 2000s. And I do think that this was a love triangle that everyone I know was invested in. Hollister had shirts that said Team Kristen, Team Elsie. Like, to me, that is like, of our generation, like the love triangle. And was it probably somewhat a little bit fake on this reality show? Yes, but I don't care. It was so good. I loved it. I also typically do not like love triangles where it is two girls, because it's kind of like,
you're pitting women against each other a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just like not as fun, but I feel like it worked in this show. Yes, we're pitting those high school girls against each other who were real people, which was not great. But, you know, it was just fun. That was just good old fun, that love triangle. I loved it. It was also the basis of the show.
Yes.
And to this day, I kind of still want Steven and Lauren to, like, just
Wait, really?
be together.
I mean, I did back then, but nowadays I'm like, well, Steven and Kristen.
No, I do
But
want
whatever.
them more together, but like I kind of just wish like Steven and Lauren would have like dated on that show more than that one date that they got.
Right,
you
right.
know?
Yeah, that date later in life on the hills. That one? Yeah.
Yeah. Or on Laguna Beach when they were on that date and Journey, Don't Stop Believing came on in the car.
Wow.
She's putting on that lip gloss. See, we remember these moments. So that's my love triangle.
I cannot top that choice. But I am going to go with the love triangle of Stefan, Damon, and Elena from the Vampire Diaries.
I mean, that's a good one.
And I picked it because I think in most love triangles, I have a clear favorite.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about all the teen love triangles, and in all of them, I'm like, it's interesting, but I always, when watching, I always had somebody that I wanted whoever to be with. And with Vampire Diaries, I was like, whoever she's with at the moment, that's who I want her to be with. I didn't really have a clear preference, and I was just sort of being led by where the writers were taking that storyline. So it's tricky when you're between two brothers.
Right. We love a good brother
We
involved
do.
in the love triangle.
It's also complicated when you are human and the two brothers are immortal. When they can turn off their humanity or, go on a bloodthirsty killing spree. But I just think that, even though Elena Gilbert wasn't the most interesting character on her own, in that love triangle, they did a really great job of showing her chemistry with both of them, of showing why each of them would be a good choice for her, different sides that they would bring out in her. And so that is what I am choosing.
I totally agree. I think that is one of my all-time favorite love triangles because the writers did it right. They, didn't really introduce Damon and Elena as like a love interest like option. I feel like till way later in like season 1,
Right.
like that season 1 finale where like he actually kisses Catherine, but and then it kind of stopped. It was like touch and go a lot.
Yeah.
With her and Damon, which I thought was really good. And I was a fan of Elena and Stefan in the beginning. And I wasn't like, oh my God, she has to be with Damon. Like, I wasn't thinking that when they were writing the more like Stefan and Elena stuff.
Right.
But then, you know, when they did start to write the Damon stuff, I was like, this is good shit.
I mean, that motel kiss.
Hot. So yeah, I agree. I think that was like, there was a lot of history there, a lot of, you know, fighting off vampires, villains. There was just a lot of stuff involved in their love triangle, and I think that they really did. They did it right. That was a good one.
Yeah.
So wait, what are you, Delana or Stelena?
You know, in the end, I was Delana. I was happy that they ended up together and that we know that they're going to have a lovely human life together. And we see that in the spinoffs and legacies. They tell us that they end up, you know, getting married and having kids. And I was a Stefan and Caroline fan. I did love her with Klaus, but when I loved that they were like, Stefan and Caroline were like best friends and sort of an unlikely pairing, and then they fell in love. So ultimately, Team Delana.
I agree with that. I also just love that like everyone on that show had chemistry with each other and they could like pair anybody up and it worked.
Yes.
That rarely happens.
Correct. And it was beautiful.
It was.
All right. So I am going to draft in the category of parent, and I am going to go with the best eyebrows we've ever seen on television, Sandy Cohen.
No. Claire stealing Sandy Cohen out from under me.
I mean, he is the obvious choice. He's just so like kind and level-headed, and he's like that parent that you want, where you can approach him with a problem and he'll be upset and maybe you'll like get in trouble, but you know that he's gonna help you first, that he's going to try and understand where you're coming from. He's going to be compassionate and just do everything he can to help, you know, fix the problem for you. So that is why I chose Sandy Cohen. Couldn't pick Kirsten because she had some less than stellar moments, although she was a good mom too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like Sandy too, even when he was going through like hardships in like his personal life or something, like he was still like there for the boys, Seth and Ryan. And I feel like that is like just, you know, why we love him. And he was just so great. He was like, I always say best parent on TV.
100%.
Well, now that you stole him out from under me, for parent, I will be drafting Lorelai Gilmore.
I had her on my list.
Another beloved parental figure. You know, sometimes a little bit more like best friend, but you gotta love Lorelai Gilmore and all her coffee and all her fast talking. And she was a really good parent.
She was, yeah. Not perfect. They were learning from each other, but I think that, you know, she loved Rory with everything she had and did her best to give her, you know, the life that she had wanted, I think, as a kid. And so I think Lorelai is a great choice.
And didn't fall into the parent alcoholic storyline, which happens a lot.
Correct.
A lot of times on these shows, they make the parent an alcoholic around season 2 or 3 to give more storylines. Didn't do it with Lorelai.
Well, if you're going to give parents their own storyline, they either have to become an alcoholic or a cheater.
True.
So there's really only 2 dramatic options for adults, apparently.
Yeah.
And so.
Okay, so for our next category, I'm going to go with athlete.
Okay.
And I'm going to draft Nathan Scott.
I knew you would do that.
The ultimate athlete. Made it to the NBA. I mean, that man in a basketball uniform defined my teen years. So
Yes.
I had to go with Nathan Scott on that one. The love of my life.
Okay, fair enough. I had trouble thinking of any athlete besides Nathan Scott.
I got him.
But I am going to go with Dean from Gilmore Girls because he played hockey.
Oh, that is a good one. I forgot he played hockey.
I did too until about 3 minutes ago.
Dean kind of was Rory's like athlete boyfriend that
He was
she had.
like the very like all-American boy next door,
Totally.
like, you know, stereotypical middle part boy. She really had that going for her. But God bless him, he was so boring.
Oh, I know.
I know. But still very cute. a great starter boyfriend.
Yeah.
And yeah, he played hockey. Never forget when she went to the hockey game and Lindsay was there and all the talk about the magnet.
Oh, yeah,
So,
that's right.
yes.
No, Dean is a good one. I know, I'm trying to think in my head now of like characters that were athletes. There's not many on these shows.
No.
So there's usually like maybe one athlete, but you rarely see them actually play the sport.
Right, unless the show's about the sport.
Exactly, yeah. So that was a good one. Good
Thank you.
work.
Thank you.
And I'm happy I got Nathan Scott. All right, so we've done 7 categories out of 14. So I'm going to toss it over to producer Jesse to give us a little recap of who has who so far.
Okay, great. So we started with Heartthrob. Claire has Jess Mariano from Gilmore Girls. Jill has Pacey Witter from Dawson's Creek. The second category that we did was new character love interest, introduced after season 1. Claire drafted Rachel Gattina from One Tree Hill, and Jill drafted Zach Stevens from The OC. The third category was protagonist. Claire drafted Buffy Summers from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Jill drafted Brooke Davis from One Tree Hill. Fourth category was villain, and Claire drafted Georgina Sparks from Gossip Girl, and Jill drafted Klaus from The Vampire Diaries. Then we went on to love triangle. Claire's love triangle is Stefan, Damon, and Elena from Vampire Diaries. Jill has Steven, Elsie, and Kristen from Laguna Beach. Then we went to parent. Claire has Sandy Cohen from The OC, and Jill has Lorelai Gilmore from Gilmore Girls. And then 7th category was athlete. Claire has Dean from Gilmore Girls, and Jill has Nathan Scott from One Tree Hill. And we're all caught up.
Thank you for that lovely recap.
Yes.
That was great. I'm feeling pretty good about my team so far. I mean, Claire has taken some people from under me, but I'm feeling pretty good. I've gotten a lot of my like top picks that I wanted.
I feel like you're sitting pretty with Nathan Scott and Brooke Davis on your team.
That
I
is
gotta say.
true. That is true. I had to get my One Tree Hill people.
Listen, I respect it. I understand. I'm thrilled for you, and I would feel badly if I took them from you. At least some of them, not all of them.
Well, you're going to have a great show with Georgina Sparks no matter what happens.
Thank you.
So.
I think so too. She is quite the character.
And with Buffy.
I mean,
You
listen.
got Buffy. That's like a good one.
And listen, that Michelle Trachtenberg, who plays Georgina Sparks, was Buffy's little sister in the later seasons, so we know that they have chemistry together. Jumping back in, I'm going to go to the category of outsider, and I'm going to select Jen Lindley from Dawson's Creek.
God damn it.
What?
That was on mine.
I did not think you would pick that.
That was on mine. That was like...
Wow.
So for outsider, I had Jen Lindley and Jess Mariano. So...
Wait. I have other ones that I could have picked. There's an obvious one.
No, it's okay.
Okay, well...
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
But let's talk about Jen Lindley for a minute. So Jen Lindley, Michelle Williams, iconic actress, maybe the best actor in all of these shows that has gone on to incredible things, and also a lovely person. Jen Lindley comes in and she is like, she's trying to be sweet. She's trying to make friends with the kids in Cape Side, and immediately Dawson is tripping over himself because she's this beautiful blonde from New York City, and Joey is so jealous, even though
so jealous
and so mean to her, even though
know.
Jen is like tripping over herself trying to be kind. She just wants to be friends. She's not trying to get into anything too serious. She just wants a fresh start. And these kids won't let her do that. And then finally Jen's like, well, fuck this. You don't want to be friends with me for real. So like she has to forge her own path, and she backslides here and there. And I think even in the series finale, she talks about how she never really felt like she fit in, even after she joined this friend group and moved to Cape Side, and she's on her deathbed and she's talking to Jack and she's like, I never felt like I fit. And he's like, you fit with me. And then oh God, it's
I
like,
love that moment.
I know, it's so sweet. Their friendship is so beautiful. But again, her true love, her true friendship is with someone else who comes into Cape Side who is also an outsider. Because he didn't grow up there either, and he's also outside because he's gay and everyone else is straight, because we can't have more than one on these shows. But Jen Lindley.
I do think she is like one of the ultimate outsiders because she does remain that like throughout the series. I've been rewatching Dawson's Creek and I'm like, can we all give Jen a break? Like,
Yeah.
Jesus. Like when Andy takes the pills that Jen didn't even want her to take.
And they're so rude to her and she's like, it's not my fault.
And it really wasn't.
No.
And then they were so quick to just like write her off and stop speaking to her. And I thought that was like so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Jen is definitely a good one.
Yeah.
Well, I had her on my list too.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I took her from you, but there's some other good ones on the board.
So I think I'm gonna go with what is probably one of the ultimate outsiders, Ryan Atwood in the OC. Huge outsider as he comes into Orange County, into this whole new world. He was so far away in the other world of Chino.
Ew.
I think that he probably wasn't my ultimate pick because I do feel like he kind of stops like becoming an outsider at some point.
Sure.
But we do see throughout the series of that struggle of him really feeling like he's never fitting into like this town.
Yeah, totally. And I think also he obviously, becomes part of the Coens family, but that's part of why him and Seth bond is because Seth has grown up in Orange County his entire life and he doesn't feel like he fits in either. So he and Ryan bond that way, and I think Ryan still is in the back of his mind always reminded that like this isn't his money, like
right.
that that he wasn't born into this, that he's sort of there sort of out of charity, although it's more than that, that's diminishing it. But yeah, I think Ryan Atwood is a great choice.
I thought about doing like Seth Cohen, but like you can't pick the guy that wasn't labeled the outsider on all the promo ads for the OC.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't, that would have been a big stretch.
Sometimes you got to go with the obvious.
Yeah. Okay, so for the next category, I'm going to pick town. So this is where we draft the town that we want our show to take place in. So I'm going to draft Cape Side.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
You are on a Dawson's Creek kick right now.
I know. I feel like I have really brought in my love for Dawson's into this.
Were you influenced by your recent travels to a New England coastal town?
I think I was, actually. We were recently in Newport, Rhode Island, and the entire time I kept saying, it's like Cape Side here. It's like Cape Side. I think, though, just for me, like, I do love, like, a water town. Like, I need, like, a beach nearby, or I need, like, a water element.
Yeah.
And I like a good small town aspect. I know Cape Side's not like in North Carolina, but they filmed it there,
right.
so I love that. So I love just like a small coastal town because I feel like teens can really get up to trouble in these towns.
Right.
And I just love an element of them all like being on a boat together, like rowing to each other's homes.
Right.
Like
the true love.
I know. I also do like Cape Side too because it's not taking place in just like a warm climate. We get all the seasons. So we get some good, winter hats on Joey.
Yes.
Throughout the season. So
I mean, I respect the choice. I too love Cape Side. I don't know that I would choose it, but I do understand the appeal of a small New England coastal town. I think
not
it's
a water
very charming.
girly.
I'm not a water girly. I'm not at all. I like land and the inside. And in keeping with that, I'm going to keep it in New England, but I'm going to move a little bit inland, and I'm going to go with Stars Hollow, Connecticut, the setting of Gilmore Girls.
Good one. That's a good one, obviously. I mean, yeah. I mean, go on. Sorry.
Thank you. No, it's fine. It's
I just got so excited.
It's a small town. It has that same sort of aesthetic, although not on the water, but it's so charming and cute, and I love the idea of all this sort of quirky group of neighbors and citizens who come together once a week at the town meeting to hear the town selectmen talk about potholes or whatever. I love the idea of they have a car, but they walk to breakfast at the diner every day and everyone knows each other, and this beautiful gazebo in the center of town, which is the centerpiece for many different scenes. So yeah, Stars Hollow, that's where I'd go.
I mean, that's a good one. I don't know why I wasn't thinking about that right away. It's because I need water.
Yeah.
Not enough water in Stars Hollow for me.
No.
But I mean, that's a good one. Stars Hollow was basically like a character of the show. I mean, we all wanted to like live in a town like that after watching that show.
100%. Yeah. I am going to go with best friend.
Okay.
And I am going to choose Caroline Forbes from the Vampire Diaries.
God damn it. Every time.
I was going to pick somebody else. And I thought, okay, no.
No, it's fine. It's just so funny. Like, literally, I'm telling you.
Well, what's
Caroline Forbes is right here in my notes.
But you know what? The next one, that's what I was going to pick. And I thought we had the same.
I got a lot in here.
I was going to pick that one or that one. We had the same ideas.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Claire.
See, what happens is I keep thinking I'm gonna pick what the second most obvious pick, and it turns out to be your top pick. So I guess I'm just underestimating these characters.
We're on the same wavelength,
we are,
though, which is fun.
I know. Okay, Caroline Forbes starts off as part of the friend group, sort of the sillier friend of Elena Gilbert and Bonnie Bennett. They're sort of like a little trio, and it feels like Bonnie's a little closer, but Caroline's there too. And then as she becomes a vampire and experiences hardships and learns more about the supernatural world and has to deal with these really big problems, she comes into her own, and I think that also allows her to become a really solid friend to Elena, to Bonnie, to Stefan. You know, they become best friends, and that leads to their eventual relationship. So I think Caroline season 1 maybe isn't who you want as a best friend, but Caroline in every season after that is a person that you want on your side. And she's funny. She's quippy. She tells it like it is.
Okay, so I love Caroline Forbes. I almost made her my protagonist.
Okay.
Because I love that character so much. And I have to disagree with you on season 1, Caroline Forbes. I loved her. I thought she was the most relatable character of like, she's in this threesome of best friends. Those other two were kicking her out a lot, okay?
Yeah.
I didn't like that. Also, when she gives the speech in the pilot episode of like, why am I never like the one that's picked? Like, yes. I just thought that was like so real, so relatable, and like such a teenage thing. And I loved it so much. I know she gets a lot of like shit in season 1 of, you know, kind of like being a little...
She's not terrible in season 1. She's just more of a plot device in season 1.
Totally. I just thought she was fun, you know? She was a fun girl.
She was fun. I did like that. I liked that she was like a little silly and that Damon was feeding on her just for fun. And she's like, why don't you sparkle? As she's tying the kerchief around her neck to hide the bite marks.
We love when they bring up Twilight in the Vampire Diaries.
It's so funny.
So good. But yeah, that was a good pick. We love Caroline Forbes.
Thank you.
Here.
But you've got some great ones available to you as well, and I'm excited to see who you go with.
So I think I might zag a little bit.
Okay.
Which is going to be a little, you know, I like to keep it interesting. So for my best friend, I'm gonna go with Serena van der Woodsen.
Wow.
And I'm moving her down to the best friend category. Blair is the lead of Gossip Girl. Don't tell me otherwise. And I do almost think Serena would have been a little bit better in a little bit of a smaller role maybe sometimes in that show. I will say this. I think that Serena was a really good friend to Blair throughout the show. Blair was doing some, you know, questionable stuff to Serena sometimes, and Serena was still always there for her the next day. She was coming with breakfast. She was like, I don't care how much this girl does to me. I still am going to be your friend.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I respect it.
And I like moving the it girl to the best friend category. Why not? You know, in my show, that's what we're doing.
It happens on most of these shows, as we've talked about.
My honorable mention, I know, but because I know I zagged a lot with that one, my honorable mention would obviously have been Summer Roberts.
Same.
Great best friend. I mean, but she kind of became like the lead.
She did.
So I think that, you know, that gets a little confusing. And she literally was the lead in season 4.
She was the lead.
But when she tells Marissa in the pilot, I gotta pee, you gotta pee, iconic. You know, how many times have I said that in my life?
I mean, pretty much every time you're out with us and you have to pee.
A lot. I'm still peeing with friends in the bathroom at 32. So for the next category, I'm going to go with Lovable Nerd. And I'm going to draft Landry Clark from Friday Night Lights.
Another zag. I love it.
This has been a hot button issue from our first episode of this podcast where we gave our list of top 10 teen dramas, I had multiple people come up to me and say, why wasn't Friday Night Lights on your list? Like, I'm so shocked because I was an early watcher of Friday Night Lights. I actually watched when it was on the air.
Okay.
Okay, and I like to brag about that because most people did not watch when it was actually airing.
You're correct.
Hence why it got taken off NBC and went to DirecTV. But I got a lot of heat for not including Friday Night Lights on my list. But I said I didn't know if it fit into the teen TV show category necessarily because the two main leads, Tammy Taylor and Coach Taylor, are adults. They're not teens. So I wasn't sure if it fit in that category. For this, I'm including it because we're drafting the characters as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like after all the flack I got, I'm here to say, fine, let's just call it a teen show. And Landry Clark, I think, is the ultimate lovable nerd. First of all, he is actually a nerd and remains a nerd throughout the series, even when he gets on the football team for like a season or two, whatever. And I just think he's so funny and was so lovable, and you did want him to get with Tyra, the hot girl. And also just that Jesse Plemons has probably had the most successful career out of any teen. Well, okay, no, sorry. Michelle Williams has had the most successful career out of any teen show star. But Jesse Plemons comes in second.
He's
probably
nipping on her heels, absolutely.
Yeah.
So for my lovable nerd, I'm going to go with the obvious and pick Seth Cohen of the OC.
Love it.
Listen, I think he really helped make that character archetype popular. I think that we didn't always have a lovable nerd. If it was a nerd, he was a nerd. And you were just like, he was annoying, or she, excuse me. And I think that Seth Cohen showed us that nerds could be protagonists, nerds could be romantic leads, they could be the center of the show. So
nerds are people too.
Yes.
I mean, obviously great choice. I mean, shocked that we did not draft him though in the Heartthrob category. Like, that's probably, quite shocking.
I was leaning a little more classic with that, like a stereotypical definition of a heartthrob with mine. Even though he's very cute. Yeah.
He changed the game.
He did. Okay, so I am going to go with Sibling, and it is my turn to zag. I am going to go with Ashley from The Secret Life of the American Teenager, who is Amy, a.k.a.
Who? What?
That's why it's a zag, baby.
Deep cut. We're zigging and zagging all over here. That was a zag.
Listen, full disclosure, I suggested this category, and then I thought about the siblings, because in my mind, I was like, there's obviously like a lot of siblings that are main characters, and I was like, I think I want to pick somebody who's a little bit like a secondary sibling character.
Well, I feel like that is how I took the category too, as that it's like, it's not necessarily somebody who's like the main character.
Right.
It's like a sibling who's like in the house and pops in every once in a while.
Exactly. So that was where I was going with this. And I was thinking about those particular types of characters, and I was like, I don't really like a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like, some of them are interesting, but I don't love them. So if you're not familiar, The Secret Life of the American Teenager, I wouldn't recommend watching it. But Shailene,
watch for this sibling.
I watched. Listen, I mean, there were some bright spots. Shailene Woodley plays Amy. She gets pregnant at 15 at band camp, whatever.
How could we forget?
She has a younger sister whose name is Ashley, who's a little bit of like kind of goth, but not full goth. And she just walks in and is just cutting everybody down. So sarcastic, almost like blasé. Not quite mean, but she's just like, I don't give a fuck about anyone's opinions. She will tell you what she thinks. She sort of balances out the sort of treacly like morality of the show with just being like, you're an idiot, you got pregnant at 15 type thing. She doesn't actually say that.
Kind of fun.
But
I like her.
But that's like the attitude, the vibe that she gives off throughout the series. And then she gets more interesting storylines and as she gets older and joins Amy at high school or whatever. But she remains sort of like a above it all attitude.
She sounds fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so I watched part of the Secret Life of the American Teenager, at least like season 1.
Yeah.
Have no recollection of her sister, I gotta say. I don't remember, but I probably blocked out a lot of that show because it was kind of wild. We're gonna have to talk about it at some point. Because really, how did that show get made? But I'm here for this sister. She seems good. I like her.
Okay.
Okay, so I also struggled with the sibling category, and really, there was somebody I wanted to draft who was a show that's on now, actually. So stay tuned for next time. So for sibling, I'm drafting Jeremy Gilbert.
Okay.
And I'm going to keep him in that druggy stage throughout every season of my show because that was when it was fun. I would have kept Jeremy out of the Dark of the Vampires the entire time. I know they really couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish they would have because I think it would have been really funny for him to just be high and be like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And I just think it would have been funny to have one person really not know what's going on in that show who just popped in every once in a while. But
yeah, that's true. All right. I like that choice.
I know. But Jeremy was kind of hot. So.
Oh, very hot. I have definitely had a crush on him.
Yeah.
Especially in those early days.
I'm trying to add all the arm candy I can on my show.
And he juggled a little love triangle there, too.
And I was into that. I liked
it. Yeah,
that was good.
Rooting
good
for
stuff.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so for next category, I'm going to go with coach or teacher, school administrator, somebody who works in the school. And I'm going to draft Tammy Taylor from Friday Night Lights.
Okay.
I mean, she was a guidance counselor turned principal. And I just think that she was like an ultimate like guide for these teens. She always gave great advice. And like real advice. It wasn't like, don't do drugs, kids. It was like she really gave them, like it all felt like very realistic in what she was telling them because Tammy's seen some shit. But I just, you gotta love her and her glass of wine. I'd love to have a glass of wine with Tammy Taylor and I just have her like guide my life. Like, wow, I love her.
All right. She sounds lovely. I have not seen the show, unfortunately. I know. But I have heard, talk about, I know. I know that they have a great marriage. I know that Tammy Taylor is a queen. So, yes.
That's all you need to know.
Love that. And her and Connie Britton has perfect hair.
Yes. I need that hair on my show.
Yes.
I need good hair on my show. It's very important to me.
Okay. So for my teacher, administrator / coach, I'm going to go with Rupert Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, another Buffy pick.
The school librarian.
Oh, that's fun to have a librarian.
Yes. So he is the school librarian, but only to cover up the fact that he is actually a watcher, and he is sent to Sunnydale, California to watch over Buffy and to help her fight the demons. And he's just so like... he seems nerdy and he loves his books, but then you find out later that he has like a history of like being kind of a badass and he like sings and plays guitar, and you find out that he was like in a band. Oh. He also is like becomes a father figure to Buffy because her dad is absent for the entire run of the show. I think she gets like a phone call with him or something. But he becomes a huge part of her life. He cares for her very deeply. He cares for all of the Scooby Gang, and fights alongside them as opposed to just standing back and watching it. And he breaks the rules that they have, like the Watchers have rules, and he breaks the rules because he cares. So
I love that the librarian became such like a central part of the show.
Yes, books are useful. Books are hot.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is sexy.
I love it. I do not watch Buffy. I've obviously seen some episodes when it's been on TV, but that sounds great.
Yes.
Really strong school administrators we picked.
Okay.
Oh, your turn.
Yeah. Final category is comedian, comic relief. And, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to pick. Okay, I got it. So for my comedian, I'm going to go with Paris Geller from Gilmore Girls.
Oh, that's a good one. I was not thinking about that.
I had her in villain previously, but she's not super villainous, but she's definitely an antagonist. But Paris is so high-strung and so just really incredibly uptight and driven and so ruthless in her pursuit of like being number one at Chilton. And she says some ridiculous things, and just sort of anytime she really melts down and like loses it, I find hysterical. So Paris Geller is my comedian.
I'm kind of mad that like I didn't think about that, because that's a good one. Because she does, I feel like, fit the category perfectly of like, she's not necessarily like a main character on the show.
Right.
And she just kind of comes in once in a while and it's like funny.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that is like what this category is. Because it is a struggle to kind of like find somebody who like maybe isn't like a main character on the show. Like, I don't think like you can really pick like Seth Cohen in this category.
Right.
Like that just like doesn't work. So it is a little bit hard to like find who the comedic relief is who's not like a main person on the show.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my answer.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Tim from One Tree Hill.
Oh, wow, Tim. That is a great choice.
I didn't even love Tim really, but I will say the early episodes of One Tree Hill, like more so season 1, like I did think he was a good character, and then they just like took it like really far. I feel like in later seasons with him. But like in season 1, he is just kind of like that comedic relief between the tense relationship of Lucas and Nathan. And just kind of like a dumb idiot to like have around, which is always fun in some of these high school shows.
Yes. I was thinking like, who's the guys on One Tree Hill? And I'm like, Skills is kind of funny. Mouth is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But no, Tim is the right answer there.
Tim was the comedic relief on that show for a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's it. We are all drafted.
We have chosen all of our characters for each category, so let's toss it over to producer Jesse to give us the rundown.
All right, so we're going to start with Jillian's team. So Jillian's protagonist is Brooke Davis from One Tree Hill. Her heartthrob is Pacey Witter from Dawson's Creek. Her villain is Klaus from The Vampire Diaries. Her best friend is Serena Vanderwoodsen from Gossip Girl. Her love triangle is Steven, Elsie, and Kristen from Laguna Beach. Her outsider is Ryan Atwood, the OC. The athlete is Nathan Scott. The parent is Lorelai Gilmore. The coach or teacher is Tammy Taylor. The location is Cape Side, Massachusetts. The new character or love interest is Zach Stevens. The sibling is Jeremy Gilbert. The lovable nerd is Landry Clark, and the comic relief is Tim from One Tree Hill. All right, and then moving on to Claire's team. Claire's protagonist is Buffy Summers from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Her heartthrob is Just Mariano from Gilmore Girls. Villain is Georgina Sparks, Gossip Girl. Best friend is Caroline Forbes, Vampire Diaries. Love triangle is Stefan, Damon, and Elena from Vampire Diaries. Outsider is Jen Lindley from Dawson's Creek. Athlete is Dean from Gilmore Girls. Parent is Sandy Cohen, the OC. Coach or teacher is Rupert Giles. Did I say that right? Giles. Coach or teacher is Rupert Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Location is Stars Hollow, Connecticut from Gilmore Girls. The new character or love interest is Rachel Katina, One Tree Hill. Sibling is Ashley from Secret Life of the American Teenager. Lovable nerd is Seth Cohen from the OC, and comic relief is Paris from Gilmore Girls.
Wow, wow, wow.
It's really interesting to hear those teams like read back to us all together.
I know. I mean, I feel like I don't know. I'm trying to like wrap my head around it all. I feel like we each got some like good picks.
I think so too.
Interesting shows. I will say my first reaction that I thought about with my team that I got kind of giddy about is the friendship of Brooke Davis and Serena Vanderwoodsen.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
What a pairing. Like that would be pretty fun, I think.
Interesting.
Them bopping around Cape Side.
Yes. And see, I think it could be a fascinating love triangle between Caroline, Rachel, and Jess.
Oh, that is good.
Like, you know that Rachel would go after him with everything she's got, and Jess would be like into it, but also like slow down. And then Caroline would be desperately like just wanting him to notice her.
Oh, yeah.
And
those two together, too. Like Caroline and Rachel.
Yeah.
Claws would come out. That would be fun.
They would be fighting over that man, and he would just be over it.
I'd watch that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And I just want more Just Mariano on my screen. We didn't get enough.
I know. One season, or 2 seasons, excuse me, but he made such an impact in a short amount of time.
He did. So were there any like surprises that really shook you that I picked?
You know, I honestly was surprised that you went with Serena Vanderwoodsen as the best friend. You really flipped those roles, and I don't disagree with it. I just didn't think that you would be bold enough to go there. But I respect the choice.
I know. I really hope Blake Lively doesn't come for me with that one. But, you know, I did what I did.
Yeah.
And it's done. With yours, I'm trying to think of what shocked me. I mean, you really took a lot of my picks right out from under me. So I was actually kind of surprised that we were like on the same page with a lot of the things, because a lot of these characters too can fit into multiple different categories.
Agreed.
But we put like the same characters a lot of the time like in the same categories, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, The Secret Life of the American Teenager, I kind of forgot about that show, so that really threw me for a loop, but that was a good one.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you brought up that show, because we need to remember that aired.
Yeah, so that we don't repeat the mistakes of our past.
And did you go into this with any form of like a strategy?
I did not. I had multiple options for every category in case you took some of my picks. I had some people in multiple categories, and I just was sort of trying to feel out where they fit the best. And also I wanted to try and mix it up. You know, I don't want to pick too much from one show. So I was trying to not repeat shows too many times. And I think we both did that successfully, where we only picked, you know, we had 3 for a show, but no more than that.
Yeah.
How about you?
I went in with a little bit of a strategy, I'm not going to lie. Because I did think if I win the tiebreaker, I'm taking Pacey Witter. Because he can fit in a lot of these categories.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I want to get him. And I thought that you would think that I wouldn't pick him. So,
you know,
I threw that knife right in your back, Claire.
Listen, you know that I love Pacey. I honestly didn't have him down in a lot of categories. I think in my mind, he is so much part of this Joey Pacey relationship, even though the character is more than that. Like, he obviously has his arcs, but yeah, he wasn't really someone that I had high up on my list in any of these particular categories. So but it was wise.
Well, I'm looking forward on my show of Pacey, you know, giving these lovely little speeches of love and showing affection by buying walls. It's just truly gonna be the best. Okay, so to wrap up, let's give each of us, we'll have 15 seconds, and we need to fight to the death. No, we need to say why we think our show is the more dramatic show.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go first. Here we go. Okay, so my show starring Brooke Davis, Serena Vanderwoodsen, Pacey Witter, and the love triangle from Laguna Beach is so dramatic. We have a lot of favorite characters in this show. Klaus coming in as the villain to basically destroy the town of Cape Side will be amazing. That was my argument. Coming this fall to the CW. All right, Claire, sell us on your show.
Okay, so my show has 4 people from Gilmore Girls, Jess and Dean and Paris, so you know they already have chemistry. You're also going to bring in Buffy Summers, who just is like, you know, fuck this, I'm fighting demons. Jen Lindley is an outsider. She's going to butt heads with Caroline and with Rachel. And Georgina, can't forget about her.
That was good. Well, that concludes our fantasy teen drama draft. That was a lot of fun.
I very much enjoyed this.
I hope that our listeners enjoyed this as much as we did. Go team, if you will.
Don't forget to follow and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And rate and review us, give us 5 stars. And you can also follow us on social media at previously_on_teen TV on Instagram and TikTok.
Thanks for listening.